Nannie Doss was a seemingly cheerful woman with a dark secret. Behind her sweet smile and grandmotherly demeanor lurked a ruthless killer responsible for the deaths of 11 family members. Between the 1920s and 1954, she poisoned her husbands, children, and even her own mother with arsenic poisoning. She often justified her actions as a means of dealing with abusive relationships or financial strain. However, her confessions revealed something even more sinister. She found joy in the process, giggling as she recounted the horrific details of her crimes. Born Nannie Hazel on November 4, 1905 in Blue Mountain, Alabama, Nannie was raised in a strict and abusive household. Her father, James Hazel, was a domineering man who kept tight control over his family, preventing his children from attending school regularly. Instead, Nannie and her siblings were forced to work long hours on the family farm. A severe head injury at the age of 7, caused by a fall during a train ride, likely contributed to Nannie's later violent tendencies. Following the accident, she struggled with mood swings and poor academic performance. Her only escape from her harsh life was found in romance magazines, where she developed unrealistic expectations about love and marriage, fantasies that would later have deadly consequences. At the age of 16, Nannie married her first husband, Charlie Braggs, a co-worker at the linen factory where she worked. The couple had 4 children, but their marriage quickly became strained. Charlie described their home as chaotic and frightening due to Nannie's erratic behavior. Between 1927 and 1928, 2 of their children mysteriously died from what was believed to be food poisoning. Although Charlie suspected Nannie's involvement, he fled with their eldest daughter, leaving behind Nannie and their newborn child. Shortly after, Nannie's mother-in-law, who lived with the family, also died under suspicious circumstances, though no investigation was conducted. Nannie's killing spree began in earnest with her second husband, Frank Harrelson. After meeting him through a Lonely Hearts column, Nannie remarried in 1929. Harrelson, like many of Nannie's future victims, was an abusive alcoholic, and Nannie endured 16 years of marriage before finally taking action. In 1945, she poisoned Harrelson's food with rat poison, and he died shortly after. The authorities suspected nothing, and Nannie collected the insurance money from his death. This would become her pattern: find a husband, kill him, and collect the financial benefits. Following Harrelson's death, Nannie moved quickly through a series of marriages, each ending in death. Her third husband, Arlie Lanning, died in 1952 after suffering from sudden heart failure, another term used to disguise Nannie's poisoning. Lanning's house burned down shortly after his death, allowing Nannie to collect insurance money for both the home and his life. In 1952, Nannie married her fourth husband, Richard Morton, who also died within a year, once again from arsenic poisoning. By this point, Nannie's victims were not limited to her husbands. She had also killed her own mother, Louisa, and her sister, Dovie, who had moved in with her. Despite the growing number of deaths, Nannie managed to avoid detection, largely because she maintained the appearance of a loving wife and caring family member. Her most heart-wrenching murders occurred within her own family. Nannie's daughter, Melvina, had 2 children, one of whom died under suspicious circumstances soon after birth. While Melvina was sedated after childbirth, she recalled seeing her mother holding a hairpin near the newborn. Nannie's second grandchild, Robert, died at just 2 years old while under her care. Though Melvina suspected her mother's involvement, no charges were filed. Nannie's ability to hide behind her outward charm and the general lack of forensic science in that era allowed her to evade justice for years. The murder that finally led to Nannie's downfall was that of her 5th husband, Samuel Doss. Unlike her previous husbands, Samuel was not abusive or a heavy drinker. In fact, Samuel was a quiet, respectable man who disapproved of Nannie's love for romance novels and magazines. Despite this, Nannie poisoned him in September 1954. After an initial attempt failed and Samuel was briefly hospitalized, Nannie waited for him to return home and then finished the job. She laced his food with a fatal dose of arsenic, and he died shortly after. This time, however, doctors were suspicious of the symptoms. An autopsy revealed high levels of arsenic in Samuel's system, and Nannie was arrested. When questioned by police, Nannie's demeanor shocked investigators. She giggled and smiled throughout her confession, showing no remorse for the 11 confirmed murders she had committed. The press quickly dubbed her the Giggling Granny, due to her cheerful and carefree attitude, even when discussing the murders of her husbands, children, and other family members. Nannie admitted to her crimes in detail, claiming financial gain and dissatisfaction with her husbands as her primary motives, though her lack of remorse hinted at a deeper, more twisted pleasure in the act of killing. Despite her full confession, Nannie Doss was only tried for the murder of Samuel Doss, her final husband. In 1955, she was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Prosecutors chose not to pursue the death penalty, citing her gender and her age at the time of her arrest. Nannie spent the remainder of her life in prison, where she continued to smile and laugh, seemingly unfazed by the horror of her actions. She died of leukemia in 1965 at the age of 60. Nannie Doss is a chilling reminder that evil can hide behind even the sweetest of faces. Over 3 decades, she methodically poisoned her way through her family, leaving a trail of death and heartbreak in her wake. Known for her smile and her love of romance novels, she exemplified the ultimate betrayal, using the guise of love and care to commit unthinkable crimes. Today, the story of Nannie Doss serves as a dark chapter in the history of American crime, and her legacy as the Giggling Granny continues to fascinate and horrify true crime enthusiasts.